Samsung's new normal is the Galaxy S21. It's the most affordable and more compact of the offerings from Samsung this year, but it has all the power of the S21 Plus and the S21 Ultra. Almost. It feels like a bit of a departure from previous Galaxy S series phones, offering more of a distinction between this and the more premium Ultra model. But there are some familiar moves here. And as Dame Shirley Bassey once sang, it's a little bit of history repeating. I'm Cam Bunton from Pocket-lint, and this is our review of the Galaxy S21. If you do like this video, please do hit that thumbs up and subscribe and hit the little bell to make sure you don't miss any more. Now, in previous generations, the regular Galaxy S has set the tone for the family, offering a smaller version of the phone in the Plus position. That was the case all the way back to the Galaxy S8. The 2017 phone where Samsung moved curved display edges into the mainstream. Prior to that, the Samsung Galaxy S7 occupied the entry-level slot with a flat display, while the S7 Edge sat in a more premium position. But what's perhaps most remarkable about the Galaxy S21 is that return to a flat display after all these years. It was something that the Galaxy S20 FE did towards the end of 2020, and at the time it felt like Samsung was exploring a new direction for its phones. It was almost like a prototype for Samsung phones to come. Now in 2021, the flat display and the plastic back are in, drawing a more distinct line between the S21 Ultra at the top of the table and the S21 at the foot. But this story isn't just about Samsung stripping away some premium features. Indeed, some will see that having a flat display is inherently more usable, just as some will see that opting for a plastic back means you're less likely to smash it on day one. But what's more important about the plastic back is that it doesn't look or feel cheap, not in the slightest. Thanks to the way the camera has been integrated on the S21 with that housing flush against the widened frame of the phone in the corner, there's a sense of purpose and style to this phone that you don't get elsewhere. Let's face it, as good as the Galaxy S20 FE is, it could be any phone from a number of manufacturers, but the S21 looks unique. There's nothing else like it on the market, and whether you love it or loathe it, the exuberant camera design is part of the brand identity. It's very Samsung right now. There's also a continuation of the great sound from stereo speakers, boosted with virtualized Dolby Atmos. Samsung uses the ear speaker and a speaker on the base of the phone, and generally the quality is really good. The only downside is that it's fairly easy to cover the base speaker, especially when gaming in landscape. Another minor change from previous years is that it's seen the SIM tray move from the top of the phone to the bottom and moved the microphone opening closer to the USB-C. But while the redesign doesn't really matter, it does mean it's easier to cover the mic hole. If you're one of those people who sports the phone with a finger underneath while holding it one-handed, you'll probably cover the mic. And that means video calls or voice interactions might not work as well. Now onto the display, and Samsung has cut the Galaxy S21 back to Full HD. That means you have 2400 by 1080 pixel resolution, 424 pixels per inch, whereas in previous years Samsung has offered Quad HD Plus displays. On a phone with a 6.2-inch display, it's not a huge issue because you're talking about really fine detail, but it's true in terms of resolution the S21 isn't as adept as the generations of phones that came before it. It also comparatively now slips in below the iPhone 12 in terms of pixel density. But the big boost that you get is adaptive refresh rate. With the Galaxy S21 able to shift to refresh rates between 48 and 120 Hz to suit the content you're viewing. That will mean for a static page it will be a low refresh, and for a fast moving page it will be increased. There'll be less blur on scrolling and better visual performance on games without draining the battery unnecessarily. Among these changes though, Samsung has kept the vibrant and punchy display that it's known for, and that's what really comes through. While the default auto brightness is perhaps a little on the low side to really make this display sing, once you've bumped it up a little, the phone learns what you like and makes it a bit brighter. We also don't really mind the loss of the curves here either. With a phone this size, curves wouldn't help hand holdability all that much. But you do still have features like edge panels on the software side if you want to use them. As was the case with the Galaxy S20, the S21 has opted for 3 cameras on the back. That means it takes a different approach to the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and Samsung opted for a primary 12 megapixel sensor with this one, with large pixels. The cameras offer good performance across different situations, giving good results both in daylight and low light. Although the images from the S21 lack the sharpness of the S21 Ultra, which is easily better in terms of overall performance. There seems to have been a boost in low light shooting, with Samsung's Scene Optimizer able to offer better low light shots, but switching to night mode gives you the best results, because they give you great low light images but also control the noise. This can give usable images from very dark scenes as well as coping with dim indoor conditions, while also able to juggle things like artificial coloured lighting with some skill. Night mode on the front camera also means great low light selfies, boosted with a little screen illumination to help your face stand out. Now the zoom offering on the back uses a 3x hybrid optic camera, but it has limitations. While it will let you hop all the way out to 30x zoom, the performance drops quite rapidly when you do. That's because there's a minor detail here that's not to be missed, and that's the fact that it's a 3x hybrid camera, not optical. That means it's not really using lens magnification, it's using a sensor cropping instead. And that explains the mediocre performance on telephoto, because it's mostly a digital zoom. While Samsung isn't pushing high-resolution photography on this camera, you can actually use the 64-megapixel photo using the telephoto camera, but that's kind of how you know there's no real magnification from the lens, because once you switch to take a photo with this 64-megapixel sensor, you get basically the same focal length as the main camera. The front camera performs well too. In fact, the portrait performance from both front and back cameras is good, with edge detection generally quite solid, only occasionally confusing when faced with a more difficult scene in front of it. So there's clearly a lot on offer here from the camera overall. In fact, there's so many options and stuff in the camera that you might get a little bit confused at times, but the automatic mode is strong enough that you perhaps won't need to use a lot of those options anyway. But still, there's no question that the S21 Ultra is the strongest performer in the series, so if you really care about your camera, that's the one you want to go for. So as with previous versions of Samsung Galaxy S phones, you'll find either a Snapdragon 888 chip or an Exynos 2100 powering your phone. Well, that will likely still divide the critics. The structure of these two platforms is now a lot closer than it has been in previous years, which bodes well for Samsung. We have the Exynos version that you'll get in Europe. But the important thing here is that it doesn't matter what you throw at it, it's slick and fast. It runs games without an issue, and it's responsive. We found no serious issues with it this year, and that's a good thing. The battery life from the 4000 mAh battery is generally very good from the Galaxy S21, with Samsung seemingly overcoming that small phone, small battery life issue we've seen in previous years. The S21 has got us through 2 days at a time sometimes, with light use, but with my own personal moderate use, I get to the end of a day with about 40% left over. That's with a couple of hours of screen time. If you're a more demanding user, of course, you may find that it just about gets you to the end of a day, but again, that's more than enough. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S21 moves further from the Galaxy S21 Ultra with this latest iteration of devices, drawing out more of a distinction than with the S20 models. There's a useful arrangement of cameras, a great display, and a compact body that's waterproof. The S21 is a great performer, but there are a few details that people will pick up on. There's a loss of the microSD, the move to 1080p flat display, and the plastic back, which brings the perception of a lesser device than the Galaxy S20 which came before it. That's not helped by the fact that the Galaxy S20 FE exists, and that's substantially cheaper than the Galaxy S20, so you might even just want to consider that instead. Save some money and put up with a few tiny little compromises. The result is that the Galaxy S21, while being an attractive phone that's very capable and slick, is now clearly in a position that's lower than the S21 Ultra, which feels more enhanced in a lot of ways. And I think that might mean that a few of you watching this will probably be more drawn to the cheaper, older option instead. I've been Cam, I'm at Cam Bunton on social media. If you like this video, please again do leave a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the little bell to make sure you don't miss any more. And I'll see you again in the next one.